that people ask sometimes, how can you become holy? And the answer to be holy is to be good. And to be good, you need to be brave, because you need to be brave to forgive. You need to be brave to have patience, to have tolerance, compassion, charity. Only the brave make it. We need to be brave to be good. It's very easy to be bad. You have to be a coward. That's all you have to be evil, to be bad. But to be good, you have to be daring. You have to be brave. And this is something we have to have clear. We have to dare to walk into a holy life. We have to be daring for that. And it takes a lot of effort. It takes a fiat. You have to take that decision. The decision of being good is something you have to take a decision for. Because it doesn't happen like that. A saint tells us, God that created you without you cannot save you without you. So we have to walk the walk of our salvation. We have to embrace the cross and follow Jesus like the gospel was teaching us today. Because it's a very sad gospel, about this young rich man. And you can see that many times, just here among us. Sometimes we hear the truth being preached from the pulpit, and then we walk away sad because we feel we are not going to be able to obey what the Lord is telling us. I give an example to people always. This modern society of ours teaches us about the process. Everyone is in a process. You see, one of the biggest industries of this civilization today is therapies. Everyone is in a therapy, right? In a process. It's always a process. But when you read the gospel and you read Jesus' teachings about changing and about doing what we have to do, he says, if this eye make you sin, he doesn't say put it in a process, take it to a therapy. No, he says take it out. If this arm makes you sin, he doesn't say, take it to a rehab, take it to a therapy. No, he says, cut it off. And then, if we learn from Jesus, if we learn from the gospel, you cannot say, oh, how crude, how drastic, how radical. Well, St. John the Baptist says, the axe is on the root. See, we have to chop it, we have to cut it off, we have to finish it. If it's bad, if it's not good. And this is the way we have to go into holiness, into changing the heart. We have to chop it off. We have to take out everything that separates us from God. We have to become good. We have to do what we have to do. And we cannot go in a process. Some people tell you, I'm working on that. I'm better. I'm smoking a little less, I'm drinking a little less, I'm stealing a little less, I'm fornicating a little less. See, yeah, with a little less you're going to go to hell because you're not going to change, right? You're never going to change by getting yourself in a process. No way you're going to change. So for us to change, it's like when you have a lover and you are married, which is the only way to solve that problem. What is the only way to solve it? You have to walk away from the lover. You have to terminate that relationship. It's the only way you can get back into where you belong, to do the right thing. And that is sin. Sin is a bad lover. That's what sin is a bad lover. And you have to get rid of that bad lover, because bad lovers harm you. They do wrong to you. They destroy your life. And this is something that has to be very clear, because it's very easy to live this mediocrity, this lukewarmness of this world we live in today. This society makes people weak, very weak. You go to pharmacies and you have 100 painkillers, 100. You see, because no one wants pain. And they look to kill any pain that comes around, no suffering. If someone is giving you a hard time, you want to get rid of them right away. If you go to the psychologist and tell them, I have a problem with my husband, Leave him. You should be happy, right? And this is the world we live in today. No pain, no suffering, no sacrifice, no mortification, no penance, nothing of that. So nothing of Christ, not of the cross, nothing of the cross, nothing that has to do the following Jesus. You see, because if we look at our Christianity is not one that avoids pain and suffering. Our Christianity is one that embraces the cross and walks with it. Today, very commonly, we hear people that are of the right, very orthodox, extremely conservative, extremely holy, and then we have people of the left, extremely liberal, progressive, and for them everything goes, and these are right and left. And I tell always people, you know, those two are derailed because Christ don't have any sides. You see, we should be Christ-centered. We don't belong to the right or the left. Both of them are derailed. See, I'm not to be of the right or the extreme orthodoxy or the extreme liberalism. I'm to be of the center of Christ, which is this little, simple, humble Catholic that is prayerful, that is faithful to the sacraments, that has a good heart, that has a spirit of service, and is humble and is little. And this is the Catholic that makes it home, because he's not an extraordinary person. He's not an amazing, sophisticated person. He's a simple person. And this is the simplicity, the littleness that Jesus asks us to strive for, that littleness. And this is what we lost, because this world teaches us to be big. You see, everything in this world is telling you to be huge, to be big, to be successful, to make it, to look for the victory. And this is what the world is about. Original sin, that's what it is. You will be like God. So, you see, people have so many gods. You see people in the sports and in the movies, and the rich people, even the gangsters, are idols of many people, and false gods everywhere, because everyone wants to be extraordinary. But the gospel goes in another direction. The gospel goes in the opposite direction. The gospel teaches us to be little, small, and to watch for this world. That's why the manger of Bethlehem is the biggest teaching, the divine infancy of Jesus. Nothingness, littleness. See, because Jesus is teaching us, my kingdom is not of this world. That's what Jesus is teaching us from the very beginning. He was born in a manger, and that was plan A of God. People will think that was plan B, because no one welcomed the Holy Family of Nazareth in Bethlehem. No, but God had a plan, and the plan was the manger. That was the plan of God, to be born in the manger. Why? Because He wanted to teach us that His kingdom is not of this world. That's why He wasn't born in a castle with guards. He was born in the most simple, nothingness way. And this is what He calls us to be. Remember, He was telling us, you have to be like children to enter the kingdom. And this teaching sometimes goes over the head of people. But we have to remember that we live in a deceiving world, in a seductive materialism and consumism and relativism, and so many isms that lead us to the abysm. This is what we do and where we live. We have to be careful, and we have to understand that if we really want to be the real Catholics we were called to be, then we have to learn about littleness, nothingness, humility, humbleness. We have to learn about that. And the more humble you become, the more unassuming, the more invisible, the more insignificant you become. You become unleavened bread. And only unleavened bread is used on the altar of the Lord. You don't get a spicy bread filled with yeast on the altar of the Lord. It's only unleavened bread. But when we become unleavened, when we become tasteless, nobody wants us. They don't want you anymore because you become so insignificant. And when you come into the faith and you have a renewal in your heart in the faith, and maybe everybody else in your family is away from God, or your friends and the people you live around, then they begin to stay away from you. You become absolutely indifferent to them. You become insignificant. They don't want you anymore. And this is the biggest news, the best news you could ever have, because that means you are tasteless. You became unleavened. You are ready for the altar of the Lord, because you're no longer the food of the altar of the world. You are no longer the bread for the beast. And then that's the best news that you can have in your life, when you become nothing, when you are insignificant. And this is what happens. You see, people, the holier they get, the more invisible they are for this world, because they become totally insignificant. And many times we don't notice how God moves around us, because God moves around us in the most simple way. And since we are not simple, since we are not small, we don't see Him. We don't see His works, because we are too big. We are too sophisticated. We are too intelligent. We are too educated. So maybe we have 20 titles hanging from the wall of the house, but we don't have the wisdom of God. We don't have the humbleness of holiness. We don't have God in our hearts. And this is what is lacking. So as Catholics, we need to wake up into this mission. We need to do what we have to do before it's late.